Hello, I am SuperViperT302, and this is going to be my marathon submission video for Super Mario 74 110 star. Now, you probably have no idea what the heck this is, so let's just go ahead and dive right into the run, and I'll explain everything about this game. So, because there are error messages upon hitting reset, we can't really give a countdown, so we're just going to start the timer now.
It's me, Mario!
Okay. So this is Super Mario 74, and this is actually a ROM hack released in 2011 for Super Mario 64, as you can tell. It was made by Logmalord, and I'm actually playing the fixed warps version, where after this first star, you'll notice that Mario actually exits from the painting. That wasn't the case in the original version, but SM64 Pi, another prominent ROM hacker in the community, actually made a variation of this, which I'm playing, where Mario actually exits from each stage individually, as opposed to just having one warp per overworld, which is really annoying in speedruns and casual play. So that makes this category a lot faster and a lot more entertaining to watch, because there isn't a lot of unnecessary backtracking. And because this hack was released 9 years ago, it's pretty primitive as far as hacks go, but it's got some really cool speed tricks, like what you're about to see right here. So if you carry a crazy box into water, you can make it dormant, and you can actually do this with it. And that actually is a metal cap skip right there. You're supposed to hit a switch to make some boxes appear so you can get up there, but with a crazy box, it's just barely possible if you do that setup. This star, you're supposed to climb across some pillars, but there's a convenient little area of ground where you can stand on before you enter the pillar area, and that little bit of ground enables me to side flip and wall jump up here. So this category is referred to as 110 star, and the reason why is because that is actually the 70 star equivalent of this game. You're not allowed to skip any start or requirements, and BLJs and box clips and stuff like that are all banned in this category, similar to 70 star. This first starter here, I'm going to utilize a ceiling down warp, so when Mario swims into a ceiling hitbox, he gets moved downwards, and I can clip through this really steep floor here and swim into the ceiling hitbox of this cage, which just down warps me all the way down to where that star is. That actually saves a good chunk of time in swimming. I'm actually going to be doing a similar thing again, but I'm going to be instead warping into a different cave. This actually doesn't save as much time. So we're gonna do that again here. Just kind of clip into the cave like that. And that's all the stars I'm going to be getting here. Most of these courses, I'm going to be getting every star except for red coins and 100 coins. There's very few coin collecting stars in this run, because they're usually pretty slow. So we're going to head out from there. And we're going to head to course 2, which is Skyward Slopes. And this course is somewhat basic, just some slopes and a bit of platforming action you need to do. I'm actually going to be doing another skip for this star. Wall kicking in between those walls there allows me to get up to the end of this little path here. Normally there's some platforming you kind of have to do to get to that star, but that skips that. So this next star is a pretty good time to mention that I am actually playing this on a keyboard. I intend to stay on it for the time being. I might switch to a controller eventually. Overall, keyboard for SM64 isn't actually that bad. It does come with some limitations that I'll get to throughout the run. And one of them is actually going to be apparent right here. So first of all, that first jump I did is essentially blind, and keyboard controls are kinda sensitive when moving Mario, so you can't really make Mario tiptoe. So if you see me doing a bunch of like tiny jumps, it's because I'm trying to move Mario into a specific position, and I'm trying to like adjust where I am. It's also super easy for me to overshoot jumps, so you'll often see me try to ledge grab certain jumps so that I don't... Because it's possible I make a jump, but then because Mario still has momentum and I'm still holding a direction, he doesn't slow down in time and he just walks off the platform and dies. So there's some disadvantages, but overall this game is very much playable with a keyboard. Again, most of these stars are pretty straightforward. A bunch of later ROM hacks in the development of this game's hacking can play with do some pretty cool stuff with the game mechanics and whatnot, but really all this is using is stuff like Toad's Tool and Google SketchUp or what have you to make custom levels. I don't actually know if that's what was used, that's just speculation. Another thing to point out is that star hits tend to be somewhat vague, and I'm going to be skipping through most of it, but there is some dialogue in this game that's flat out mocks the player, as well as just seems kind of stupid in general. And it's a bit meta. And now we're done with Skyward Slopes. Yeah, most of the stars there are actually pretty straightforward. So now I have 10 stars, and I'm actually going to be heading to the 10-star door here, which is actually the opening to the first Bowser level. So before I do anything in this level, I'm actually going to take a quick little detour over here to open the cannon. Although the process for opening cannons is very slow, and getting up here is actually somewhat awkward, this is pretty out of the way. Come on. Again, it can be hard to readjust when you start making mistakes like that. So the reason why I want to open the cannon is because there's a couple stars that kind of require me to do it, and it's also a faster way for getting up to where the pipe is. And since I'm going to be re-entering this level a bunch of times, I'd like to have a convenient way back to the top of the tower. Because every single one of these stars is going to take me out of the level. This cannon shot is actually very, very tricky. Because due to, especially if you're playing on keyboard, because again of keyboard sensitivity, so it's super hard to actually get a good lineup. So I actually aim a little bit higher so that Mario's guaranteed to land on the platform. Okay, this star I'm actually not going to use the cannon. I accidentally did the stars in the wrong order, but it shouldn't cost me that much time. So you're actually supposed to do this in the Extreme Edition version of this game. You're not supposed to here. But you can wall kick between these two little pillars and get up here. And at the edge of this area, there's a star box. That's kind of an example of me kind of taking it slow due to the sensitivity of my controller, so that I don't accidentally walk off an edge. It's going to be especially relevant on those like thin platforms and really tight jumps. There's actually one more star I'm going to get here. And it's actually you've probably noticed this already, but Lugmalord has a bit of a habit of placing stars in really, really obscurely hidden locations. And this one right here is a pretty good example. There's just kind of an alcove here that has a star. Most players probably wouldn't think to look there. Alright, now I'm actually going to re-enter the level and go fight Bowser to get the first key, because this game still operates on that system. So I just got to make my way to the pipe, which is at the very top of that structure over there. And as you can see, Lugmalord added a lot of stars to the secret levels in order to up the star count. There are actually 151 stars in this game in total, just for reference. So you gotta climb these switch boxes. There's a cyclet there to skip some of them. And now we're off to the first Bowser fight. So if you paid close attention as I was entering the fight, you would have noticed that one of the bombs was actually higher up. So in this fight, the bombs are slightly higher than before, which makes hitting Bowser into them a little bit trickier. There we go. I had to move him a little bit closer so that I could safely make it to the bomb. And that is key 1, so that'll take me out of the first overworld. So So that is the warp that you would have for, if you were playing the original version of this game, for every single star or death exit. That is where you would spawn for every course. And you could understand why that would get annoying, because you would have to backtrack to every single course. So now I'm going to start off with the second overworld here. So this overworld, it does contain entrances to a bunch of levels, but it is actually a secret level that's been remodeled. So you'll notice every single one of these stars is actually going to take me out of the level. I'm just going to respawn back in here. And there's also a coin count here, which isn't normally present in the overworld. So I'm actually not going to be collecting every star here right now. But I am going to go around here and get these red coins, and get a couple other stars along the way. There's a bunch of wall jump shenanigans like that that can be quite finicky to pull off. Managed to do a triple jump there. I have to be really careful for this upcoming section. I want to get this red coin, but I also don't want to fall off. Because there's a star in this alcove that I'm going to want to get. And if I were to fall down, I would have had to climb all the way back up, which would have been really horrible. So the last thing I'm going to do here for now is actually get these last two red coins to get the red coin star. And that's it for Tower of the East for now. There's still a couple more stars I'm going to be collecting here, but I'm going to be kind of getting them as I'm traversing between levels. And now I'm going to skip some pillar climbing here by just doing some wall jump scaling here. And we're going to head to Lava Switch of Eruption, which is just a fancy name for the wing cap course. There are 3 stars here, including red coins. I'm only going to be getting 2 of them. This first one is actually really, really tricky. This flight is kind of tight. And you have a very tiny opening to get into there, and I made it first try. If you miss that opening and you bonk on the wall, you're dead. And this last star is actually underneath the smallest tower, and I'm also going to combine this with the wing cap switch press, and I'm going to do a tech skip similar to what you'd see in the original SM64. By jumping off the switch and flying into the star like that, I can skip the text box you would normally get from actually hitting the switch. Okay. This long jump over to the Vanish Cap course is pretty tricky. And I got it. And now we're off to Dust Switch of Identity. As I said before, this is just the Vanish Cap course. And once again, I'm going to be collecting every star except for the red coins. Something to note about some star orders is that for every single course in this game, you actually get a short little intro text box when you enter. So for some courses, I'll intentionally get an easy star out of the way first in case I die on a later star. So that way, if that death does happen, I won't have to see that text box every time. That's just kind of a minor optimization thing you can do. This star is normally really, really terrible because you have to kind of walk across that really thin path. But there's a fly guy right there, which you can just use to twirl into the star. Makes it way easier and also a lot faster. So now I'm actually going to have to go out of my way here to get the Vanish Cap switch. It's just right over here. There's just a blank text box there for some reason. This series of jumps can be a bit scary. And now we have the Song of Storms from Ocarina of Time. This hack does have some custom music, but as it is early on in the days of ROM hacking, most of the songs in this game are from the original SM64. And there is another little skip to skip having to actually climb some of those switch boxes. You can just kind of wall kick up to where the star is. The last 2 stars I'm going to be getting here, I'm going to be kind of going the same path for the 2 of them. So I have to be kind of quick here because there's a Chukya here, and if he grabs me, it's very, very hard to recover. So thankfully you made it through alright. This star really demonstrates how bad the camera can be. You just gotta get the vanish cap here and run through some mesh walls. So I haven't mentioned this yet, but the reason why I'm in Mario Cam C down for most of the levels in this hack is because the camera in this game is hilariously terrible if you're playing in like Kichu Cam. Because, again, the camera was not managed very well in the early stages of ROM hacking. So, like Kichu Cam sucks in almost every single level. But this camera works out just fine, for the most part. And the best thing is that the hack actually knows this, and even with Mario Cam, there are instances where the camera can just not be cooperative, which you've seen a few times already. That's every star I'm going to be collecting there. So next up, I'm actually going to head in this direction. And we're going to be going to the Frozen Slide level. Here, I'm actually going to be collecting every single star, including the red coins. This stage is really, really terrible because of the terrain. The terrain here is incredibly slippery, and it's super hard to get a running start going. Okay. Pretty scary platforming you have to do there with those narrow platforms. One slip up and you're just gonna fall off and die. Now I'm going to do the red coins. This star is actually pretty fast for red coin standards because this level is actually fairly small. But the slide is once again really slippery, so I'm going to have to play it a little bit safe here so that I don't just slip off. So I'm actually going to slow down a little bit after grabbing that red coin so I can take that turn a bit more tightly. I'm going to do another small little shortcut here. That's not good. Okay, I'm actually going to ditch the red coin star for now, so I don't die, and we're going to get this star instead.
Here we go!
I might have been able to back kick up to that red coin, but I didn't want to risk dying, so I figured that would be the safer option. That turn is incredibly tight to make. Yeah, the camera has a bad habit of getting stuck on walls in this hack. That's better. I barely grabbed the red coin there, but we managed to make it work. And you have to be really careful here. If you have too much speed when going to that red coin and you're too far to the right, you can actually clip through that pillar, and then from there you actually end up above the death barrier. So you would just die. So I had to make sure to be a little bit farther to the left than would have been reasonable. And the last star here, again, a very well-hidden star. This is one where most players wouldn't think to look unless they fell off the slide and happened to see a little lid sticking off here with a box on it. Guess what? It's a star. Unfortunately, I didn't get to show off a pretty cool slide skip for the star at the bottom of the slide, but at least that was done deathless. So now, before I move on to the next course, there's just a star on top of this hut that I can get. Next course here, System of a Town. This is a somewhat small and compacted level, but there's still a lot of really cool strats here. This is not how you're actually intended to get the star. You're supposed to go into the sewer system and then do some platforming and climb across the top of that roof, but it's also possible to just walk up there. In fact, I can actually skip the sewer entirely in this stage, because this star you're also supposed to go into the pipes. But you can do some fancy wall jumping here to get on top of these slopes, if you can. This is actually a really, really tough skip. I messed up my camera there. You need to have some pretty precise angling in order for this strat to work. I don't know what happened there. I wall jumped the wrong way. Okay, so I need to get this red coin now because I need to heal. Alright, let's try and get this now. There we go. So now I just gotta A-B kick up this slope. And then drop down here, and there's just a box here that has the star. So that took me way longer than I would have liked, but at least I got to show that off. Again, that's a very, very tough skip to do, especially on keyboard. This next star I'm going to do is kind of devilishly tricky. So first of all, it's super easy to get grabbed by this chuck, yeah. And I also kind of just fell off there. I might be able to get back up. So what I just did there to escape from Chucky's grasp early is actually an intended mechanic in the original game, but it's just never explained anywhere. So if you are being held by Chucky or King Bob-omb for that matter, if you mash A or move the control stick from the center to the outside, a counter will start incrementing, and if it reaches 11, you get released early, like that. So that's what I did there. It's actually pretty helpful. Again, it's supposed to do a bunch of platforming, but you can just wall jump into that little alcove. And lastly is a pretty hilarious star. So there's a chimney here that you're supposed to go into, but the chimney has some questionable collision. So you can just kind of do that.
Here we go!
So next course is the spooky level of the game, Haunted Factory. I said frantic, and the reason why actually is because the music in this level is the Frantic Factory theme from Donkey Kong 64. And this is going to be the first level where I'm actually going to be collecting more than 5 stars. Okay, this skip to get up onto this box early is actually kind of difficult due to the camera. Alright.
Here we go!
So I am actually going to be collecting my first 100 coin star of the run in this level. This is the one of 3 100 coin stars in the route. And the reason why is because this 100 coin star is actually free. So there's a little opening here that I can try to get into. If I can wall jump. You're actually supposed to use the shell to get into, but with a precise enough jump, you can just do this. And there's just a blue coin switch here that gives you like 80 blue coins. Yeah, super convenient. Alright, I need to kill one of these boos in order to get to 100. So yeah, super easy 100 coin star to get. And now I gotta do this jump. That jump is pretty terrifying because if you get a first frame wall kick, you're pretty much dead.
Here we go!
Luckily, it went well. And kind of a side effect of having levels be accessed within another level is that when you exit this course, the coin counter doesn't work properly. And the reason why is actually because the coin counter gets reset. So the way the So the coin score you get within the course actually gets saved, but the way the coin counter works is that it actually goes up to match the value of the coin display, and the coin display gets reset when you re-enter Tower of the East because it's a separate level and not actually a hub, and not actually part of the overworld. So the coin score gets reset to 0, so that's why you don't see it count up. As for why it occasionally displays high score, I have no idea why. So there's 2 stars here that require me to get to the top of the mansion, and that was one of them. I also need the vanish cap in order to pass through that wall. Now I'm just gonna get the star that's also on the top of the factory. There is actually an alternate way to get up here that's a bit cooler, but it's unfortunately slower. These holes in this room are actually connected to that room where I got that Blocks of Doom star. That was the first star I collected here. So using some fancy smanchy wall jumping, you can actually get from that room to this room. Unfortunately, it's actually slower by barely anything. So that was the Explore the Factory star. And this last one just requires me to get on this shell that's here. This purple stuff is actually lava, and you can surf on lava with the Koopa shell, which is what I'm going to do here. There are technically ways you can get this star without the Koopa shell, but this category bans BLJs, so that can't be showcased here. Still a fast star nonetheless. And that's everything I'm going to be getting there. So before I head back to Overworld 1, we're going to fail this wall jump a few times. Actually, I got it second try. And there's just kind of a star on the top of this hill. That's actually kind of hard to get to. There we go. And also, once again, because this is technically in level, you can actually pause and exit course from it, which is slightly faster. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to clear out the rest of the stars I want to get in Overworld 1, starting with this star right here, which is... This is the Metal Cap course. I'm actually going to be getting all 5 stars here yet again. So, I'm actually, despite what I mentioned earlier, I'm actually going to be staying in Mario Cam for this entire level. I mean, Lakicha Cam for this entire level. If you go into Mario Cam at any point, it actually puts the camera above Mario in a really weird way that makes it impossible to tell what you're doing. So even though Lakicha Cam is terrible, it's the lesser of 2 evils for this stage. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get the red coins here. This level is very small and compacted, so it's actually worth it to go ahead and get the reds. Alright, I lost a little bit of time there. That could actually be somewhat bad. This entire level is actually in toxic gas. And so I'm actually... That's why I'm losing health throughout the level. Okay, there we go. So you basically need a metal cap when you're in that level, otherwise you're going to lose health quickly and probably die. Fortunately, all the stars here are pretty fast. This one is kind of tricky, though. You're actually supposed to use like a triple jump dive to get up to that little ledge there, but a double jump kick enables you to do a long jump immediately. And the last 2 stars here are actually pretty easy and pretty fast. This one's kind of terrible to get because of the camera, but there's just a little alcove there that has a star in it. And this last star I need to collect, I'm actually going to pair with the metal cap switch, because I'm going to need that for 1 star later. I'm going to try another tech skip here. So So you can tell which hole that star is in by the fact that there's just a yellow coin above it. And again, I did a tech skip there just by jumping from the metal cap switch into that star. So now I'm actually going to go to the first course in the game. I didn't do this course earlier because I actually need the wing cap for a couple of the stars here. So this little triple jump up that slope can skip some more switch boxes to get up here. Climbing these pillars is actually very tough, especially with keyboard controls. I'm going to tackle the hardest sort of these 3 stars first. There's a box on these platforms over here. You can reach this from this island with the wing cap, but you're supposed to actually reach it from like the highest point in the course available. So that tiny little ledge I jumped off of is actually the highest point, which makes getting that star somewhat of a freebie. I almost save and quit there. Because I'm on emulator, hitting continue, don't save after every star doesn't nearly save as much time as it would if you're playing on actual N64, but it's kind of it's still worth it to do. So I also need the wing cap for this star over here. You can actually technically get that star capless if you use a fly guy, but it's slower and harder. And I would need to come back to get that star I got first anyways, so it doesn't really matter. And now I gotta climb up here one more time, this time for the star that you get just from climbing these pillars. As you can tell, because again, this ROM hack is very primitive, most of the stars are just get to this point in the level, and there's a star. There's not really too many objectives you have to do. Next, these next 2 stars require me to go this way, and this star is actually a bit of a pain. So there's a box very cleverly hidden over there, and you can barely reach it with a double jump ground pound. You're actually supposed to go above the box and then hit it from below, but that's slightly faster, albeit way more annoying. And this is actually the first star you're supposed to collect in the game. And it's just a little training in wall jumping, which I've already done plenty of in this run. That was a bit slow. Now we're out of there. So you might have noticed earlier that I went into the 10-star door and it didn't play an animation for me unlocking the door. This does. So there's no 10-star door in the original SM64, but there is a 30-star door. And this is a 30-star door, so it is programmed to play that star animation. So before I do anything behind this door, I'm actually going to open the cannon, because this is going to be needed to get to some secret stars, as well as another course later. Now we're going to go to Stalagmite Cave, which is sort of the Hazy Maze Cave of this game. And we're going to start off with a really, really finicky jump right off the bat. I got it first try. That skips pretty much doing anything for this level. You're supposed to kind of go across this obstacle course and jump across a bunch of pillars with Chuck Yuz. Hence the name Chuck Yuz Challenge, but that just wall kicking up there also works. I'm going to do another little skip here. This is another star you kind of have to go around a long roundabout path normally, or you can just lava boost. It's actually kind of easy to die here. Alright. Again, keyboard sensitivity, so I'm playing it a little bit safe there. So this next star is actually an interesting concept. So in the original SM64, there is never a stage where you have both the wing cap and the metal cap. But in this game, there actually is. So you gotta go down this pit. And I'm gonna get the metal cap because I'm gonna need to hit a switch underwater. And I need the wing cap so I can fly over there. And if you pay close attention, the wings are actually metallic. That's a texture that's unused in the original SM64. Alright, so I'm on a bit of a tight timing here, so I have to get up these boxes really, really quickly. There we go.
Here we go!
Very, very cool concept. It's also worth noting that if you go into that little cave I went into, you actually can't get out of it. So you have to be kind of careful. Fortunately, the only times I'm ever going to go near it in this run are when I actually have to go inside of it in order to get stars. So I gotta wall jump up this shaft here. And there's an obstacle course of thwomps here. And you get a star at the end of this pathway.
Here we go!
And the last star here is this first one downwards, and you can probably guess why that's the name, because we're gonna go back into that cave again. This star is pretty much as low in the level as you can get. You just go into this water after going into the cave, and the star is just kind of right here.
Here we go!
That's Stalagmite Cave. So up next is Ice Crystal Tower. This is a snowy level. This level is pretty difficult. It's actually really easy to die in this level. That jump in particular is a nightmare. But it saves a little bit of time if you can get it. So this is one of the few stages in this hack that's somewhat linear based and not open world like the original game is. So there's going to be a lot of me climbing this tower. I'm not going to be getting too many stars here, though. This star is actually not even at the top of the mountain. You'll notice it's called Almost the Top. And I actually am going to be getting the star you get when going all the way up the mountain. In fact, that's what I'm going to get next. And I'm also going to pair it with one of the 100 coin star. Because there's a lot of coins in this level that you can get from climbing up the mountain. So it's just kind of worth it to pair the 100 coins with this star. Okay, we're going to play it safe here. I messed up my movement slightly. A little bit of an unknown secret, and this exists in the vanilla game as well. If you jump on a womp's back while it's planted like that, you actually get coins. You can get up to 5 coins doing that. I'm sure not a lot of people actually knew that in the original game. Alright, hopefully I can get this red coin here. Okay, I didn't get it, but I have a little bit of leeway with coins. Alright, this part is a little bit tricky, so I'm gonna wall jump up here, and there's a wing cap here. You can actually do this part capless, but with the wing cap it's a lot faster and a lot easier. Oh. These jumps are very, very tight. You actually have a very, very small amount of height to work with. So there's just coins in these boxes up here. And there's a 10 coin box here. So now I'm actually going to fly up to this platform. Like the EJK makes this wall jumping section a little bit easier. And there's a blue coin switch with the remaining 30 coins I need. Alright, so that one fall was kind of annoying, but overall, at least I didn't die. And I can go over here, and here's the star at the top of the level.
Here we go!
Yeah, the other stars will involve either climbing up the mountain an incessant amount of times or some annoying backtracking, so I'm not going to be getting any of those. And here's the last star I'm going to be getting. This is actually much harder than it looks. that jump is very tricky, and if you miss it, it's very easy to die.
Here we go!
Okay, so we're done with that level. So before I go on to the next course, there's a couple secret stars I can get here in the overworld. I need the cannon to get up here. So first, there's just this little toad over here. That gives you a star because he's happy, if I can talk to him. Also, on top of this structure where the 10-star door is, happens to be a MIPS. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. And this MIPS doesn't try to run away from you, so pretty easy grab. And you get a free star for that, too. I do have to use the cannon to get back up, though. So again, if I were doing the no fixed warps version of this game, then every single time I exit from this course here, I would have to go all the way back to that cannon and shoot myself to this level, which is very annoying and takes a very long time. So, Overheating Oasis is the sort of desert level of this game. I don't know really if this should be considered a desert, but it's got pyramids, it's got sand-ish, it's got pokies, so I guess you could count it. And for these first 2 stars, I'm going to be kind of going up this little structure here. And again, this is a very enclosed space, so the camera is pretty bad. This is another devilishly hidden star here. You have to jump over here, and then jump off this ledge, and oh hey, look, there's a star. There it is. I'm going to be going up this path here another 2 times. So there's another star that's in a box at the top of the tower, and I did not mean to do that jump. Luckily, we can back this up. Again, camera makes it incredibly hard to see what you're doing. There we go. That was pretty slow.
Here we go!
And the last star I have to go up that path for is actually insanely easy and really short. So at the top of this giant pyramid here is a star. You do have to climb this slope. So there you go. Okay. Next star here, I have to go a little bit out of my way. Because there's this little structure at the top of this tower here that's apparently unfinished. I don't know why it had to be specified like that, but hey, Lugmore made this game, not me. And using some somewhat finicky jumps here, we can make our way up. That star is actually kind of hard to grab because depth perception is not your friend in this game. It isn't in the original SM64 either, but it can be especially bad for stars like that are just out in the open. And this last star is one of the fastest stars in the entire game. You're supposed to hit a switch to make a box appear in this temple. Or you could fail while jumping up to it. There we go.
Here we go!
So there's another MIPS that's on top of the tower. Just like the original SM64, there's a first MIPS at 15 stars and a second MIPS at 50. And both of them are worth getting in this category. I have to make sure I save after grabbing this MIPS, because I'm actually going to be intentionally resetting the game. So do not be alarmed, I'm not resetting the run here. So we're going to save, and I'm going to hit F1. There's a couple error messages I got to click through. There we go. That was a little bit of a slow reset.
It's me, Mario. Okie dokie.
And while I'm here, there's actually a toad on top of this building. So I'm gonna use that reset to my advantage and get up to him a little bit quicker. And I still need to get the second key in order to get to the third overworld. And there's another course I want to clear out. So I'm going to head back to the second overworld. And here's the 50-star door. This holds the entrance to Bowser's Aquatic Castle, which is the second Bowser level. Before I enter, there's a little alcove here with another star. Pretty clever star location, if you ask me. Also, kind of obscure. Alright, now we're actually going to begin the Bowser level. So, this first star, I'm going to be abusing one of the advantages that keyboard allows you to do. A lot much easier. This is frame walking. So, that slope is actually too... Oh, boy. Weird angle there. It's okay, you just get to see that again. And you get to see this really, really cool strategy. So this slope is actually too steep to climb with normal methods. If I could get a good camera angle, that would be nice. But by doing a trick where you alternate between holding neutral and forward every other frame, you can actually climb the slope like this, doing a sort of like stutter walk. It's a little bit difficult, and because I messed up getting here, now my camera's all messed up, so there we go. I wanted to show it off again. So that cost me a lot of time. And the nice thing about keyboard is that you can just mash a key in order to frame walk, and if you're playing with a controller, you would have to wiggle the control stick back and forth, which is really, really difficult. I'm gonna wall jump up here. We're gonna go for another switch and boxes star. There's a lot of these in the hack if you haven't noticed. And there's a bit of a tight timer on this one. Oh. It's really easy to have your jumps eaten. I'm actually gonna back this up by going into this cave. There's a star in this alcove here. That's actually kind of difficult. And this is where another disadvantage of keyboard really comes into play here. Only having 8 angles to work with makes jumps like that very, very challenging. Especially if they're blind. You can sort of get around it by playing around with the camera and playing around with which directions you hold, but for the most part, you kind of have to wing it in some cases, and it can be quite challenging. Alright, so let's try that again. This should be better. There we go.
Here we go.
And this last star is actually fairly easy compared to the ones I just got. So off over here, there's a little secret area with some parkour stuff you would have to do. But you can also just triple jump wall kick into this alcove, and here's the box. Pretty nice shortcut.
Here we go.
And the last thing I need to do here is get the key from the second Bowser, so we're going to re-enter here again. And this is actually very quick to get to the Bowser fight. So you just get in the water here, there's a little tunnel here. You exit the tunnel, and there's the pipe. This Bowser throw is a lot harder in this game. It was hard in the original game, but it's a lot harder, mainly because of that flame. You have to be very careful when positioning yourself here. It's very hard to back up missing the grab here. Okay, there we go. There we go. So what I did there, I grabbed Bowser's tail even though I was in front of him, and that was actually because I touched Bowser's tail earlier, which set a little flag that makes it so that if I'm anywhere within the vicinity of Bowser and I press B, if I'm in front of him like that, then I'll just grab his tail automatically. So that's what I used there. And thankfully I didn't miss the throw. So before I go to the third overworld, I have to clear out, of course, 9 flowery gardens. It's just more convenient to get it here. This is a pretty tough level. So this first star here, I need to have pretty good movement getting up here because I need this fly guy to be in a good position. Okay, so that I messed up getting onto the fly guy, so we're actually going to do a backup star, which is just over here, and this is a very scary star, very easy to fall here. Alright, we made it up. That part is kind of sloped, and if you're just too far to the right, you get affected by the wall hitbox and you just get pushed off, which is really, really bad, because then you fall all the way down. So unfortunately that didn't happen. Alright, if I miss the fly guy shot here again, there is another backup I can do. That should work. There we go. So that just skipped a bunch of really, really tough platforming. Makes that star a lot more manageable. This is sort of the last really, really tricky star of the level that I'm about to get here. So there's just kind of a windmill over here. And as is the case with windmills in video games, there's an accomplishment you get from making it up the windmill. And we can skip a bunch of climbing just by wall kicking there.
Here we go!
This star can actually be routed out if you get a different star in Ice Crystal Tower by using a slightly faster strat, but that strat is almost task only, so you're not going to be seeing me go for it. Instead, I'm just going to be going for this star. It's about 20 seconds slower, and it's actually pretty tough. So this is a King Bob-omb fight. And as you can tell, the platform is a lot smaller, which means it's a lot easier to throw King Bob-omb off. And there's also a fire spitter there, which doesn't make things any easier. Alright. What happened there was I tried to get behind King Bob-omb a little too early. So he sort of auto-aimed on me. Alright, hope I can throw him before the fire gets me. There we go. That was pretty bad. It's a very hard fight to do fast.
Here we go!
Okay, this last star I'm actually going to get in an unintended way. This is actually kind of slower, but it's really cool, and it loses barely any time, so I'm going to show it off. So, you're supposed to go through this little wall that just disguises a cave, or you can do this. I don't know why it works, it just does. And that's it for Flowery Gardens.
Here we go!
And with that, I am now ready to move on to Overworld 3. And this is where the run kind of starts to ramp up in difficulty. And also this key door animation is kind of glitched. That is totally where the key goes. And I can control Mario while the camera's locked because he doesn't enter the door right away. So this first star is actually the reason why I reset the game earlier. So for some reason, entering Stalagmite Cave causes this Koopa the Quick to forget his route. So if I didn't reset the game earlier and I tried to do this race, he wouldn't actually finish the race, and so I wouldn't be able to get a star from him. And the only way to fix it is actually to reset the game. Now, the story behind this race is that Koopa sort of cheats, and he actually cheats by climbing up that wall there. That is actually a mechanic Koopa the Quick is able to do in the original game. You just never see him do it.
Here we go!
So thankfully, resetting the game makes that star actually work properly. Ah, dumb save and quit. So I have to make it all the way back there. I should probably stop going for continue don't saves at this point in the run anyways. Alright, the last of the stars in this level are pretty obnoxious. This first one is actually really, really hard. It's one of the dumbest stars in this game, in my opinion. Alright, I'm actually gonna wait here, because I wasn't very confident in being able to make that cycle. So this heave-ho has to be in the right position in order for you to be able to make this jump. And if it isn't in the right position after this, which it should be, nice. If that heave-ho is at the edge and it's facing that tiny little ledge, it can still flip you off even if you're actually standing on the lower ledge. So that's why I had to kind of be careful there. I wanted to see where he landed, and it's basically impossible to get up there if the heave-ho is moving. So there's a couple other stars on this path, and I'm going to do a little bit of a skip here. I was going for the faster strat, and then I tried to back it up, and I fell off. But there is a backup to get up here by just doing those wall jumps. That's actually slower for getting up there normally. And, oh my goodness. Alright, let's readjust the camera. This is not going too well so far. Alright, I'm actually gonna get this star. I was gonna get the Blocks of Doom star first, but since I've lost a lot of time on this star, I might as well just grab that one. I'm gonna go down that path again. This star is a little bit scary if you don't have a consistent method of doing it, but and especially if you don't know exactly how you're supposed to do this. So the secret to getting past these boxes is that you actually can't ledge grab this second box, and I just completely missed that jump. This is really, really tough platforming, especially with a keyboard. Alright. So this box you can't ledge grab, you actually have to make that jump, or else you can't make it to that third box. You just can't build up enough momentum. So that starts pretty terrible. And this last star is yet another very well-hidden star. There's just kind of some ledges over here that are kind of hard to spot. And if you go across them, they take you to this alcove, and there's a star right here. So I'm going to do the courses in Overworld 3 a little bit out of order, mainly because of routing optimization. So before I go to the next course, there's a toad over here I can reach by lava boosting. And this will be the last overworld star of the game. And there's also a wing cap over here, which I'm going to need to reach the next course. And here is course 12, Cliff of Wrath, with the hilarious acronym COW. This is another course that benefits greatly from the fixed warps, because otherwise you'd have to climb all the way to the top of the tower and get the wing cap every single time you want to visit this course. So we can actually get more stars here now because we spawn right next to the level. And so it's much easier to re-enter it. Also, the camera when exiting the level is pretty terrible, so it's really hard to tell what you're doing. Alright, so there's a box here that is surrounded by fire, but you're actually supposed to use the Vanish Cap to get through that fire and break that box. But by doing that precise kick, you can kick above the fire and break the box that way, which is quite a bit faster. Next star just involves jumping across some pillars. And it's pretty tricky, as the name suggests. That's another place where having keyboard can be a bit of a difficult struggle to make the tiny enough adjustments. You can actually skip that first pillar, but it's not really RTA viable. I will get back into that pipe during the camera change at some point. I'm going to be kind of going the same path for these last two stars because I need to get to the top of the cliff for both of them. A little bit of a fun fact, if you bonk there, you actually fall down every single one of those stairs, and then you will also fall back up the... Yeah, there's just kind of a King Boo up here for some reason. And killing him gives you a star, as it normally does. Oh, I almost made it in. And I gotta climb up the cliff again for this last star. And I finally got that speed kick. Last star is yet another one of those hidden stars that's very hard to spot. So just out of view over here, there is a tiny little ledge, and there's a star there. And that's all we're going to be getting in Cliff of Wrath. So after I wait for the camera to catch up, now I'm going to get this wing cap and fly off to the next secret course. So this pipe takes you to the level Champions Challenge, and I hope your left ear enjoys this level, because for some reason the music is only in the right ear here. So this is a Champions Challenge. This is just kind of a long parkour obstacle course. Hopefully there's a couple of tiny little skips here. This jump is actually kind of stupid due to depth perception, and you need a pretty good angle for it to work. I got a first frame wall kick there. And there's another little skip here. Alright, that was pretty rough. At least we made it up. I accidentally... So, what actually happened there was I didn't click back into Project 64 properly. So, that is why I moved backwards in my splits. So, that's actually going to be a bit inconvenient. Okay, so... Sunny Beach here. Thankfully, we do not have to do the 100 coin star in this category because to put it simply, the 100 coin star here is one of the worst 100 coin stars in any SM64 ROM hack ever. And I'm also not going to be getting the secret star here, so I'm actually only going to be getting 4 stars here. And the nice thing about this level is that it has what is known as parallel cam. So that makes movement in this level a little bit easier. And this jump I'm doing at the start here is actually kind of tricky to do with keyboard. And it barely saves any time, but it's pretty cool. There's another hidden little alcove here. And there's just a big bully here, and killing it gives you a star.
Here we go!
And I don't have to go out there for these last 2 stars. So I need to hit the switch here to open a gate on the other side of the level. I'm going to actually try to navigate the side of this boundary here without touching the water. This is pretty tricky to do. Alright, messed it up. Come on, get up. Oh my godness. There we go.
Here we go!
And this last star you could actually probably find in casual play. Because if you're doing coin collecting and you collect this red coin, you might notice that there's still an additional shadow there. And I don't know what the camera's doing. I went the complete wrong way somehow. That has never happened before. Get out of it there. Okay, I got the red coin and there's still a shadow there. Turns out it's a star. If I could get to it, please. Thank you.
Here we go!
Okay, that was kind of rough. And now we can finally go back to this big castle here, which is really where the run kind of begins. And here's Molten Treasure Chest, another lava-based level. So this level is kind of tedious, because there's 4 different mountains that each have various things on them. And there's not really a intended way to get to from mountain to mountain, other than just kind of lava boosting onto them and doing this. And using the wing cap to fly around. Alright, so this first star is infamously difficult to casual players. You need an insane amount of speed from this flight here. And then when you go into this tunnel, you need to go super high up, and that gets you to this platform.
Here we go!
You would normally have to enter that tunnel with, like, cannon flight, which makes matters worse. But you can actually just do it by just going off that box there and then having really precise flight. It's actually not that bad. So this is going to be the 3rd and final 100 coin star I'm going to be getting in the run. I'm actually going to be pairing this with the secret star. Because each of the 5 mountaintops here has a secret attached to it. And there's a handful of coins on them. And in addition to that, there are actually 2 blue coin switches in this level. So I'm going to be getting those. You might have noticed that I grabbed all the blue coins, but the timer didn't actually expire. That's simply because both sets of blue coins actually spawn at the same time. Okay, I barely grabbed that 4th secret there. And I want to make sure I end that flight within ground pound while going downwards, because that saves Mario's pitch so that he starts off by going downwards. Otherwise, he would start off by going upwards, and it's super easy to miss the coins if that happens. That was actually pretty good. Managed to get all those blue coins, so I only had to get 2 coins from that set of platforms. Alright. So that's the last coin-based star I'm going to be getting this run. And for some reason, the camera is awful inside this temple every single time you respawn from getting a star. And it also places you right in front of a door, so I have to jump kick the wall. This star is actually really, really tricky. So ceiling hitboxes extend a lot lower than they visually appear. And this ceiling is insanely close to the ground. So you actually kind of have to go through the side here. I actually could have hit the ceiling there, even though it looked like I was nowhere near it. And if that happens, you're just dead. Okay. Makes it very hard to see what you're doing. Right, this is the star I opened the cannon for. And it is fast enough to warrant opening the cannon so that it can be in the route. And you need the cannon and the wing cap in order to get this star. Because as the title suggests, it is super high up. I'm actually not going to ground pound this star, even though it would make Mario fall to the ground slower, because if you miss the star or you're too low, then you have to do the fall of shame, and that's really terrible. Alright, and now we've just got this final star, which is also in that cave where I got the first star. This one's a lot easier. Alright, and we're at 100 stars. Here is where the run really begins. Because now we're going to be going to a level called Sphere. So this is actually course 15, and you need to play course 14 first in order for this to make sense. But this is actually course 14, but upside down. And it's very, very painful to navigate. But the nice thing about this level is you can get to pretty much all the stars in this run from the very start of the level. And as you can see, these are based off the Stone Tower Temple from Majora's Mask, which is what that music is. And this is really, really difficult platforming you have to do to get to these stars. This star actually has a skip that I'm actually not going to go for, because it doesn't save that much time, and it's super easy to fall if you miss it. I'm also going to kill this Lykichu to be safe. So yeah, you kind of have to jump around these walls here. You can jump directly from that starting position straight to the star, but it's really awkward because you have to kind of go around an angled wall. Okay, this star I kind of have to do a bit of a leap of faith. There we go. Those are the easy stars. Now we're going to get to two of the really difficult ones. And the only reason these are in the route is because they're fast. These are very difficult stars to do. So first we're going to do Intense Challenge. So there's just kind of a tiny little platform here that has all 5 secrets on it. And the star spawns way over there. And this is actually not how you're supposed to get to it. So you need to wall kick here. You actually can't normally slide on that slab, so I had to ground pound so that Mario would do a regular slide. That way I could jump. Do some tricky wall kicks here. And then the star is right below me, so I can just do this. And there we go. That's actually, again, that is not how you're supposed to get to that star, but it is way safer than the intended method. And it's still really, really challenging. And on star 5, Flight for Sight, this is the only star that's where an act-specific wing cap appears, but it turns out you don't actually need it. This is a very, very precise jump. And I got it first try. That's very good. That's actually a really, really tight jump to make, but it saves a lot of time if you get it. Alright, and the last main course of this run, this is where I'll get my last 5 stars from, is Luminium Sphere. So you'll see this is just the upside down version of the level I was just in, except it's right side up, really. And this is what I would argue the hardest level in the run. It's definitely, or at least the scariest. So to start, we've got this star, which can go horribly wrong for a number of reasons. I need a good enough angle there so I can walk in between this and the tiny little sliver of wall there. And we made it. That's not the intended way to do that star either, and again, doing the star the intended way sucks. So, really glad that skip exists. Now I'm going to go that same path again, this time for... You might have seen there was a star in an alcove that I just kind of passed by. I'm actually going to get that star now. And I don't have to do as nearly precise of wall jumps. Oh boy. So the camera just kind of randomly turns on you sometimes there, and if that happens, you can save it, but it's really hard. And I believe that was actually the first death of this run, which is really impressive. Let's try this again. And we got... Alright, I was able to save it this time. Alright, here's the alcove. And there we go.
Here we go!
Okay. So, funnily enough, there is actually a shortcut you can take for this next star, but it is actually slower than doing it the intended way, which is what I'm going to be doing. And there's some pretty tricky jumps here. This wall jump in particular. Okay, this wall jump section is really scary. Alright, I actually made it up there with only 3 wall jumps, so I have to play a little bit safe here. Okay, at least we made it. Okay. So the first star in course 15 was called the same place again because this is the star I'm about to get is actually where star 1 was in the previous course I just did. Hence the star name. And this star is somewhat tricky to get to. So we have to do some wall kicking off these switch boxes here. And if you get a firstie when wall kicking off these boxes, you actually get a lowered wall kick. So I intentionally delay my wall kicks there so that I don't get a firstie. Because otherwise you just get knocked down and it's really hard to recover. And there's one more star before we're able to enter the 110 star door. And even though I would consider it the easiest star in the level, it's still really hard. Of course, these levels are nothing compared to their Extreme Edition counterparts. So there are some places where, like Hichikame is actually better for wall jumping. Also, this fly guy is terrifying me. So, I'm just gonna long jump here. And there we go, that is 110 stars.
Here we go!
So now we can enter Bowser's Crystal Palace, which is the final Bowser level, and finish off the run. So Bowser's Crystal Palace is actually, in my opinion, one of the most cleverly designed levels in the hack, but it's also a really, really long level. But fortunately, there's actually a pretty big skip here we can do. So you're supposed to go through this long path in order to get to the end of the level and open a cannon so you can get to the end, but you can actually make it through these holes without opening the cannon. With some somewhat finicky jumps. Yeah. That jump is kind of blind, so
Mamma mia!
you sort of have to wing it and hope for the best. And there's several different ways to do this. This is just the most consistent method I found. Alright, there we go. We're playing a little bit safe so I don't jump into the pit and die. And a couple more long jumps will get me to the final Bowser fight. Alright, nice. So now I just gotta throw Bowser into the bombs 3 times. It's a lot harder this time because there's additional fire and the platform is already star-shaped. So with Bowser throws on keyboard might seem terrible, but there's a pretty easy way to do them. If I hold right and tap left, I can swing Bowser fast. That should hit. Nice. So I'm once again going to use this tech where I touch Bowser's tail and then move in front of him so I can grab him differently. And that was way too early. That was way too late. The latency on emulator is kind of bad, so these throws are a lot harder than they need to be for me. That should hit. There we go. So time, just like in the original game, is going to be when I touch the Grand Star. And this is actually going to be a PB by a couple minutes, so that's really cool. And time. Alright, we'll say that was 121.50. So, not bad overall. A few stages with slip-ups, and again, that was a PB, as you can see, was a PB by 3.5 minutes. But hopefully this was a very good showcasing of this game. Obviously it should have been. This is a pretty old ROM hack, but I love the speedrun for this game just because of how many cool tricks and strategies there are in this run to collect the various stars. 110 star is a pretty cool category as well because you get to show off a lot of the game. And ROM hacks in general are pretty fun. I've been trying to get into them a lot more, so hopefully this game will be a nice way for me to show it off in a marathon setting. So with that, I am done. Thank you for watching, and thank you for considering this submission.